Hi everyone, I'm Albert. We'll be going over 3 games from this week's NAOL again. And let's just get started. So pretty typical opening so far with a few two corners. Yeah, traditionally we see this type of close approach. Then nowadays that you can also play closer to the corner. It looks a little strange because it's not quite putting as much pressure on black, but this does protect the corner more. So this is one option. The main difference is if white has a very close approach, the next move white can aim at something like A. Whereas if we play farther, then pretty much the only follow-up here will be to take some territory. It's still a big move, but a little bit different. Versus if you get here, this depends on some of the surrounding, but potentially this is a strong move. So just as one example, if we get to something like this, white can potentially gain a lot and forcing black into a pretty uncomfortable shape. Or something like this. So white has basically a few more options besides just move at B12. Yeah, okay, so still peaceful. I would say the shape up to this point is a little better for black, because if we look at the bottom left, the earlier extension at A is a little too small. It's very close, and there's still an obvious weakness if at this Hane, and while black's corner is very secure. So we can think of it as black having a very normal looking corner, but white's outside is not very efficient. So the synergy here favors black. The main problem is white's plan here is not consistent. So white played C8, which is developing the side in the corner, and then play H3, which is trying to attack black, but then also play C4 to go back to the left side again. At this point, I think white either needs to focus on the corner, or at this point, white has to think more flexibly by blocking here. So at least white can transition to the bottom side. And as far as the left side, white can still push one, black will probably come back, and then white can either choose to save the stone or just tenuki again. Or maybe if white wants to play something more efficient, maybe white can go play something like this, or something along this line. So white shape is pretty strong. But the slight downside is the move at C8 is not super efficient. Normally after the bottom left Joseki, white will have sente, but in this case, it seems like black will have sente most likely. So if white plays here, black can tenuki at this point. Whether white will play here, black will play here, or extend to the right. Another pretty common option is AI will recommend white to just tenuki at this point. I think that's also pretty common. So at this point, black has a slight edge in the opening. I think this jump is the first major shape issue. So not a huge mistake per se, but this leaves a very obvious weakness because black can peep here or black can wedge here. So the connection here is just not secure, very secure. So normally in this shape, you will see white play the monkey jump instead, because you can almost think of this peep as sente. So playing G14 is a lot safer than F14. Here would be just much better if black approaches all the way. And on the left, by bumping one doesn't really solve a lot of the problems, because white can still peep here. So if black wants to do something, I think black should still continue on this side. Or maybe black can wedge one. If white connects, then perhaps black can just try to cut this stone. And in this case, black will have a strong shape. If white fixes on the outside, then at least black can get a sente descent. And it looks like this group will be a bit safer. I think both sides miss the vital point, which is fighting for the peep on the left. At this point, black definitely should reinforce, because white can take away the base in sente, whether it's through this way or this way. So even if black captured this zone, this is not an eye. And actually black will be under a lot of pressure because white already has so many zones on the outside and black doesn't have a single eye. So this type of sente attack is very severe, so black should defend here. In fact, even without the f12 move, white can already peep at c11 directly. Okay, so neither side came to the left. So this looks like a pretty good opportunity for black. The attachment is a good move to basically exploit white's shape weakness here. It's also possible for black to start with this move. Yeah, white's main problem was playing here. I think white's shape is not strong enough. So if white wants to play in the upper side, I think white has to start with something on the fourth line. Maybe L16 or M16. The game move was a little too ambitious. Right, and then after black has a two-space extension, I think there's really nothing white can do. So white should probably just tenuki locally. It's really okay in this type of game for your opponent to have a base. It's not ideal, but a lot of people, especially Q and lowdown players, would try to attack this directly, and usually that will lead to your shape collapsing because white shape is not super strong to begin with. And I think the way to think about it is we can only, even before the invasion, we were only expecting maybe 20-30 points for white on the top. Now that black has played two moves, black is only destroying maybe 30 points. And white's moves on the outside here are quite valuable too. So it's not like black destroyed everything and white has nothing. This is not that type of situation because white did profit on the outside. And also black shape is still a little bit weak. It's hard to attack right now, but eventually white can profit a little bit. For example, maybe by pressing from the top or getting a little bit of points on the from the second line. It's just unclear which way white will, from which direction white will attack. So the best response here is to leave this alone for a bit and play what's more obviously profitable, more clearly profitable. For example, attacking here, or on the right, perhaps. White can try to Hane to go for the corner, but in this case, maybe the center is not as valuable. White can directly split the right side. For example, maybe something like this to threaten the corner, or split closer to the center, like here. There's no need to attack so directly because G16 by itself is pretty much a dame. And right now, white is not really afraid of black trying to separate the center two stones. And that precipitated the disaster on the top right. So at this point, white shape is pretty bad. There's not a great respawn that can simultaneously put pressure on black. So either white or have to think about some sort of trade, or white would just have to allow black to profit, maybe like this, or maybe black plays here. Most likely it will be a shape like this, and then white can go into the corner. So we can just see that g16 is not helping white much here. So white has some shape issues and reading errors. So now the group is not alive locally. And I think black missed a good chance by playing the Atari first. Black can take 3-3 first. And right now the whole group will become a ko. If white tries to kill black directly, black can escape. And also white just doesn't have enough liberties. This won't even be close as a liberty race. So white can only play a ko locally, like so. And this is a flower ko for black. Besides that, it's hard for white to find ko threats. Maybe white can find on the left, but in either case, let's see, just random ko threat for white, capture black. Yeah, black can find a ko threat, for example, here. So black still got the corner, and now black is super thick and strong and connected, and white's outside is kind of in shambles. The problem with this is black has gote, and the corner now belongs to white. Let's see. Yeah, I think white panicked a little bit, but white should just live in the corner. In this case, black did gain locally because white's outside is now pretty weak. But the game is still very playable for white because at least white lived in the corner, and black didn't gain that many points because this is gote, and also later white can probably play this Sente Atari. So white still took away the corner. After a series of exchanges on the bottom, we can see that black got another 20 points in the corner, or at least really solidified the bottom right, and now has got Sente to kill the top right. So at this point, black has a pretty overwhelming lead in terms of territory, and I think the only way for white to catch up would be to kill the left side. And the shape, I think, is starting to fall apart. We can see that white was playing okay until now. Maybe white thought the top right didn't go well, and then suddenly started playing a lot of overplays and leave obvious weaknesses. So I think it's important to really stay calm. I think this is a common theme that I've been noticing in the past few weeks. People make a mistake and start to really get nervous and start to, I would say, make unwise decisions. So I think this is another example. Okay, so I guess black returned the favor on the left. So black correctly identified that the left is the only weakness. So if black can settle this, the game will be a very easy victory. I think easy starting point is just to connect everything and make sure black has a base. Jumping always leaves the peep weakness, and I think black didn't think enough about how to deal with this. Right. Looks like, yeah, I'm not super sure where the misread happened, but it looks like there was some hallucination after this. Yeah, after this, white is suddenly back in the game again and might be favored now because the top left, white gained 20-25 points, and also black's center group is no longer alive. At this point, I think black can still manage the situation by cutting here. If white plays here, black can connect on the second line. If white can Atari, but no matter what, black can get this Atari and block, and the liberty race will favor black. I think white could have a stronger attack with the peep directly. This will basically just take away the eye on the side. Versus here, it gives black a chance to connect. And if white can't really take away the eye on the second line, then black has no real weakness, which is a problem. So fast forward a little bit. Looks like white did manage a comeback by killing a lot in the center. So the Aji here is obviously very bad. And then black decided to play here and go for it. I'm not sure if this was due to a lack of time. And every time when people make risky moves like that, I think I would go back to first evaluating the situation. Does black really need to do it? And is there a better move? Locally, there's definitely a better move because this cut is a lot more obvious and it's very clear that white cannot handle it. Black can start cutting by cutting here. And yeah, white has no other option besides maybe giving up these two stones. And in which case, this will already be a very big sente game. And then black can come back to here. And if we do a quick count, let's see what the score estimate says. Yeah, black seems to still be okay. And if we do a quick count, top left 10, 15, 25, 30, 35. Top left is around 35. The center 10. Center about 20, 55. While black has 10 bottom left. 16, 20, 25, 20, 26, 27. So 37 the bottom, plus the left 2.39, plus some here, 40 something, 50, 55, 65, 75. So black has around 80 points, and we only counted 35. I guess there's more than 20 in the center. 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. It's closer to 30. But black has about 80. And in this situation, black still has sente. So it does look like, and white has still have weaknesses. Maybe the push cut here. Well, not the push cut because this black has a fix. But black still had potential to make more points here. So I think the score estimate of 12 points, maybe slightly over, but I think it's a high, close to 10 in terms of black's lead right now. Yeah, looking at it from this lens, it's kind of unfortunate that black ended up losing everything in the center. So before making moves like this, maybe black didn't see the potential of a cut. I think even after here, black can still probably try to do something, but the game is definitely a lot more complicated now. So always do your risk management. That's very important. So it's hard to know exactly who's leading, but we want to have a sense of territory balance. For example, if your opponent is thinking about other stuff earlier in the game, or here, so white invaded and black successfully captured everything. So before that, black's probably winning, and white made a desperate attempt, and black is still, when black came out ahead, so black has to be doing even better than before. So using clues like this, you can get a sense of how well you're doing the game without counting every single point. I think this is a thought process that comes with the experience. So with that, I will move on to the other two games. And if people have questions, I'll be happy to come back here to this game. Okay, so another center capture. I think I've seen another 4-6. Like a super... I don't remember what this is called. Yeah, like a 4-6 point. Double 4-6. So this response is not ideal for black because it leaves a 3-3 and the aji here is just not great, which means white descend on either side it's likely sente. What black should do actually, there are a few options, but the easiest way is for black to do jump actually. It looks slow, but it eliminates all the aji, and now if white tenuki, black can of course try to separate the f4 stone. So white's wall is only limited to the left side, and if black pincers here later, of course the f4 stone will become a liability unless white plays another move. So black has a solid 10 plus points in the corner, while white has a few stones that cannot be considered thick. So this is good for black. Another option is also just play here. Now, coming out at A will be Mi with settling on the side with B. This is another very safe way to play. You can choose the side you want to play the iron pillar, whichever side you want to get the Keima. In this game, I don't think it matters too much right now. Either side will be okay. So just don't do this. I think this is a few ways where it could actually turn out bad for black. Okay, but top left is pretty good for black. This is an older Joseki. Usually white will hane here, and then black can extend. But here white bumped, which gave black the entire corner. So this is good for black. Notice the liberty here is still very tight. If black, for example, plays hane connect, there's the obvious clamp at f18. A lot of people might think that if white can somehow get a lot of points on the top, this will work out okay. But I think that is a little bit deceptive. So for example, white plays something like this, and then later, maybe I'll even allow white to expand a little bit more. I want to show that even if white uses the wall, in quote, and get a lot in the top, it's probably still not worth it because black shape in the top left is so complete and so efficient. Black has, let's see, 10, 12, 14, 16. Up to here is about 17 points. And 17 points here is roughly this whole group. And this started out as white's corner, and white has gote here. And we're not counting this side yet. If we add this side, this is definitely bigger than here. Plus what black has sente. So if we look at this half of the board, the territory is probably somewhat balanced. But if we look at the bottom, black is far ahead. And white has some weaknesses, and black has an empty corner. So a lot of time people lose track of points just because two territory merge together. It looks then the territory will look a lot bigger than it really is. But if we try to break this up, the right side was a trade between the corner and the side, like the Kitani Joseki. On the left side is not a Joseki, but it's another like inside versus outside trade. But black's inside is a lot bigger than white's outside. So overall, this situation is good for black. And the last note here is don't forget how big hane like this can be. This is will be in the neighborhood of 20 points. Okay, so black should have seen this review before playing the game. Then he would know that there's no point of reducing. All black really need to do is play here. This type of territory, I think is a good extension from the previous discussion, is only scary if white can skip this extension zone. So let's say white can push many times and then play something like this. And then now all of a sudden everything is territory. And then it might be feasible. Even in this case, we have to think black could have enough by getting just that. Like for example, black can get something like this, or even probably along this line. I don't think white will have enough. The core problem, again, it comes down to the fact that if you break up the territory in half, you're seeing that black got, for the center, black has profit on the right and the left. So even in a situation like this, it's unclear who's getting more. And of course, on the left side, there's no way white would get a wall so complete. The point is, for white to really profit and do well with this type of situation, white has to skip this move, or unless black has nothing in the corner. Otherwise, this will be the same type of efficiency as two separate joseki, and white wouldn't really get anything more than the standard joseki. In this case, if black is worried about white expanding, black can jump, or black can play here as well. So let's say white goes back, black can play here or turn. So after which, white doesn't really have a whole lot of potential to expand. Maybe only like around 10 points toward the center, but white will mostly be limited to the third line territory, third, maybe fourth line. And of course, on the left and right, black is getting territory on the third line as well. So this is nothing that black can handle. Little thing, I think white should just wedge it and then extend. So notice this is the opposite of the previous game, where black seems to have invaded the top. Right, I guess there's some similarity. So white has the territory, black spent 2 moves trying to reduce it, but white profited by playing some moves on the outside. So even though the upper side, the 20-25 points is gone, white can definitely make that back from attacking it and reducing black's potential on the right. So notice now from now on, everything here will likely be in white's sphere of influence. Before, black can definitely get a lot more on the right. So we shouldn't think of it as white losing everything on the top, but without considering the fact that black also lost 20 plus points of potential on the right. So K15 is really not the right timing. When dealing with Moyo, I think a good strategy is you want to make sure you can expand and get takes position where you can secure potential first. So for example, at this point, now black has some good potential on the right, and then invading will be a good idea. Because when white gets a wall here and black just somehow lives, white's influence wouldn't be super useful because black already has a safe corner, and then black has a potential to expand outside. There's no way for white to seal black off in this case. Whereas in the game situation, white can just seal black's corner with 1 move, and now the entire side, all the potential will be gone. So this is a very different situation. Okay, so black bump here, and then very interestingly, white tenuki. Oh yeah, definitely black needs to come out here. The problem for black this game will be white has some stone toward the outside in all 4 corners, and in this case, they're starting to synergize with each other. If they all connect, then the entire center will just be too efficient. Black cannot compete with that, especially because black is sealed off to the second line here. If this is on the 3rd or 4th line, the situation will be very different. So the problem here, eventually, well, not without some issues, but earlier we mentioned that white has some weaknesses in the bottom left. Whenever black has a chance, if black plays a Kasumi, white will be cut off and separate it. But throughout the game, black never really exploited this weakness. So white was essentially let off the hook. Yeah, I think the major mistake that white made at this point was to capture this stone. Yeah, it is really just nothing but helping black because white's alive on both sides and capturing that stone doesn't do anything. White's priority here would definitely be to focus on fixing the shape issues. And once that happens, white can try to do everything he can to separate the upper stone. Maybe something like this to keep up the attack. Or if the attack is not feasible, white can at least come back to defending the side. Yeah, so at this point, white is under attack. There's some slight issues. Oh, there might be a question. Ah, you play white in this game. Yeah, if you have any question, other points you wanted me to bring up, I'll be happy to. Yeah, I think I just point out two opening mistakes. And I think the biggest problem for you is ignoring the Q16 wedge, that bump, and also capturing here prematurely. I think right now, all you really need to do is to Kema out. This will fix all the problems simultaneously. So you will cut off black, and then black can connect here in one move. So the center, you can still have some initiative. And on the right side, you connect back to your weak group. And if you get another stone around here, then of course you can keep attacking black's corner. And notice black won't die here, of course, but you're getting a lot in the corner. This is now almost 20 points. So if you can profit in a corner like this, you don't really need much in the center because black wouldn't have much in the other corners because you've taken a huge corner already. This is a way where you can think flexibly and move your territory around. Yeah, so it looks like black captured the fourth stone and now white's kind of in a crunch. But you found some chances here. So there's no reason why this group would die, but I guess eventually it did. So it was a good desperate attack and a success story. Let's see. So at this point, actually, black is alive just by making this move. Because this is Sente. This is Sente, of course, and then black can make a second eye. Not a beautiful shape, but black is alive. And I'm sure there are other ways before this. So the final mistake was wedging here. I wonder if this was a misclick or maybe black didn't see that this is Sente. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps up the game. There's always a lot of back and forth, and I found that oftentimes the game would just be decided by one final careless mistake. I think it's definitely within black's ability to find this move directly without the wedge, or seeing that the wedge is actually Gote. All right, with that, I'll move on to the last game. Cool. So this is the game between Laura and Maria. So I recognize the name. I think she came to the Chicago Open this time with her son. Or maybe that's a sister. I remember Enzo and Laura was our Chicago Open commentator. Okay, so another opening. This type of shape I think is slightly better for white because white gets a push here, and now it's hard for black to expand on the right side. Locally it's even. Black made an extra move here. That's premature. Yeah, black just needs to take a big point at this point. Black has Tenuki locally. The reason this move is not great is because white can Hane, and now black is kind of in an awkward situation. If black plays here, then Q14 and Q13 together, it just doesn't make a very good shape. White can still profit underneath. And notice black doesn't really have anything. If black Kasumis, it's a little better for the bottom, but on the top you can see white still firmly controls the center. If black wants to play something later, usually what black will play the Hane. At least then black has the potential to get territory on the 6th line. But even then it's a little bit tricky because white can peep on the 2nd line in Sente and then very easily split the side. Typically this shape is very hard to kill. So slight opening mistake at Q13. Black chose to split the side. Not the most proactive, but it's okay. Not a big deal. At this point, I think the bump and split has some directional issues. So black already invested a move at Q13, so there should be some sort of follow-up to develop here. Oh. I accidentally pull through. So bumping here and invading, I think, doesn't continue the earlier plan very well, let alone having some subpar shape. I think it would be a good idea for black to play the attach. This is a different Joseki, and black can utilize some strength on the top right to develop the right side. Usually after the bump, it will be followed up by a jump or a Keima. The shape is not great, but the idea should still be focused on developing the right side. Or if black doesn't really want that, black wants to invade, I think pincering directly is also fine. But the M3 stone is weaker than the Shimari in the corner. So whichever way black decide to play, black should focus on the M3 stone because it's a little weaker. The problem with this move is that it's kind of neither here nor there. So it doesn't put pressure on either group. And there's no, this is not a good situation to split because white can take the valuable corner. And blacks just basically have a weak group. Typically, actually, you will play from the corner in this case. Even if black gets a pincer, it's not a big deal. You'll quickly see that white can make black's shape pretty uncomfortable. And if we just play this out, there's still a cut at h5. And white's wall in the center directly reduces all the potential on the right side. Whereas black's wall has no tangible benefit because white's corner is very solid. And black doesn't have real potential to make territory here. So in this way, the direction of play will become very favorable for white. I wonder if black can extend in, just utilizing this special, kind of unusual shape here. Because white can Hane here, and then potentially push here in Sente. and block. It involves a lot more reading, but this is, I think, possible. Normally, white will play this to kind of push black into the corner. This will be black will be stuck on the second line. But since white already has stone on M3, white's wall is not very efficient either. So it could be playable right now. But of course, extending out is more common. Okay, a common Tsuji / probe everyone should know about is this clamp. Most of the time, white will extend. If white connects, white will most of the time will connect here, and this leaves a pretty big endgame for black. If white extends here, the Tsuji normally is to connect or attach, but since black already has stone at C9, black can attach all the way here. This takes advantage of the fact that black has a lot of sente surrounding the C3 cut. So if white plays here, the normal move is to extend, but because of the situation in the corner, black can just clamp here. Notice black can aim to cut at A next. So if white captures the stone, the corner will be in trouble. So white has to bump here, and then black can Atari in sente and connect in sente, and then extend. So all of a sudden, white is left with nothing in the corner. So this is a very severe attack. If white Hane here, the situation is not much better. Black can reverse Hane. And notice white cannot Atari, otherwise black can get the 7 sente and then cut again. And then when white extend, black can cut. Now white is falling apart on the outside. So that's why typically extending down is not a good idea for white. There is one exception. That is when, let's see. That is when white fixes directly. So if there's no stone at C9, white can do a one space extension. Now this can eliminate pretty much all the aji in the corner. And the clamp at B2 will lose some points. So it's worthwhile for white to spend an extra move and to get all this territory. But in this case, white doesn't have time to do that. So I would suggest black to clamp. So white tried to separate black, but black just settled on the left. I think black should Hane here. This will create a much stronger shape. And also this will separate white's outside groove from the corner. Here, black profit a little in territory, but at least white is extended out, and this can put pressure to the bottom group. I would say the shape move. Actually, now the clamp still works, first of all. This is still a decent probe. If white descends, black can have a nice endgame here. So maybe white connect and black can play here. This could help to find eyes and there's some life and death implications here. So this could help a little bit. But to escape out, the shape move would be to attach. In this case, there's really nothing black is worried about. If white Hane's here, black can cut. And right now, giving white the outside is not very scary because black can live here. This is very safe. And the wall for white is not very profitable. Right, so this attack is very natural for white. And it's a good call for white to kind of lead this group alone and to tenuki. If white continues, it's possible white might end up with gote, and that would just lose more initiative. Perhaps white can consider turning once. If white can make a sente turn, that will destroy all the eye shape here and make a future attack more realistic. Slight issue with this invasion, this reduction, similar to the problem with G3 from black earlier. It doesn't put pressure on either side, and typically we want to bias toward the corner. In this case, it will be here. This move is nice because it allows white to extend to the side and also attach the corner. Usually when white attaches, black has to extend, and then white can easily make a little base here. White can also consider maybe playing a probe in the corner. So for example here, if black plays something like this, then potentially the approach will become sente. So notice here, then white can get 3 in sente and have a 2-space extension. If white plays something over here first and black pincers, in this case, black will probably just allow white to take the bottom and attack the R6 zone instead. So that's why peeping first can be a good sequence. Okay, so white had a successful reduction here, but the problem is black played an extra move. Black didn't need to capture this stone. And notice the exchange didn't really help black at all. Black got 2 points, but white captured Panukius on the outside. This will help white a lot in the center later. If black just tenuki, a lot of, I think, Q players still struggle with this. If you just leave it alone, just picture in your head, if you leave this group alone, can your opponent do anything very severe? And if the answer is no, then that means it's not urgent for you to do anything in this area. Especially because you can already see that your attack is not very severe either. So it's not like black gained 20 points from capturing something. This is only 2-3 points. And white still pretty flexible, and white still has access to the center. So this attack is not very severe. But black did come back to here. This Atari is pretty big because it connects to the center, and now white's corner is not completely safe. We mentioned that black can still clamp, and this will definitely threaten white's eye shape. White probably has to connect to at least protect an eye here. But if white plays like this, then black also profits in the corner. Oh, so white did block, which is, I think, a wise move. This will make sure the corner is alive. But black's connection here, I think, is a slow move. I'm not super sure why black played the connection. Black connected here. It's definitely gote, first of all, because white can still make an eye in the center and escape to the center, like escape out. So there's no opportunity for black to attack this corner or to kill this corner. So the connection just becomes a pure endgame move, which is worth around 8 points. Probably a little less, like 6, around the neighborhood of 8 points. So yeah, I think it's a common mistake for some Q players. We play endgame in the opening or in the mid game, where it just suddenly all of a sudden we're in a good fight taking big point, and then one player decides to play an endgame that's not very urgent. So this will seize a lot of initiative in our game. So there has to be careful with that. It's not like a simple innocent 1 point, 2 point mistake. This can definitely change the tide of the game. Because it sees initiative to your opponent. Now white gets an extra move to the top. Imagine it's black's turn now. Black can just, with one move, basically take away the entire side. And now white gets to play here. So white will get probably close to 20 points in the top. Typically, white will want to block here unless there's something like a very unusual circumstance. Yeah, so the idea is if black Atari'd back and white can get the turn, it looks like white might be able to do some sort of double attack. Because the bottom group is also not completely safe. And typically white is not as worried about the upper group, because this shape is notoriously hard to kill. For example, if black tries to do something here, white can actually just sacrifice that. And notice, just by capturing 2 stone, black didn't gain anything. The other option for white is to Atari from this side. This might be an easier way to play, and still very strong. Put up a lot of pressure on black. Even if black hunted here, white can just connect here. So it looks like one side will definitely die. If black try to play here, white can just capture this side. What else? If black, if black Atari, the situation is still pretty similar. White plays here, white can Atari here. Yeah, this will be, I think, white's strongest response. At this point, if white cannot capture or severely damage the top, just capturing the G18 stone is valuable, but it wouldn't be, I think, as valuable as this variation. Okay, so now black did, okay. So this is this is a big mistake. Maybe that's where white misread. And I feel like, judging from the flow of the game, the white should have a little time left, so to not make this type of mistake. Maybe the cut, but then now at this point, I would imagine white will be able to realize what's happening, to at least cut her losses and play away. And of course, this move is not necessary. It loses a valuable co-threat. And sometimes the game will just come down to that. So we definitely make mistakes every game. And I think in tournaments or serious games, what really separates a win from a loss is how we react to our mistakes and blunders. So if we can really stop early, control ourselves, to do damage control, that will really improve our game. Honestly, as much as preventing the blunders from happening in the first place. If we can recognize our mistakes and I guess not beat ourselves up over it and focus on the rest of the game, that's where we will really improve to the next level. Yeah, and it seemed like white has a pretty calm game the whole time. It just had a little kind of uncontrolled moment, went a little crazy in the center, and then white calmed down to play a normal endgame, and was ultimately able to win by 18 points. So that was good. Nothing too major in the endgame. I think white just held on to the earlier lead, because black did lose a lot by giving white the top left, and even though white blundered, that still made the game pretty playable for both, and white profited in the bottom right, and that decided the game. So it's really as simple as that. White was never really behind in this game at any point. So after making the mistake in the center, that's still not a devastating loss. From Black's perspective, I think at this point Black has to consider where to fight, and the game the continuation was just not satisfactory enough. Perhaps Black can consider bumping here. Although I'm not sure whether White gained anything by this continuation. Yeah, I think Black can Hane here. This will get Black a lot more points. So Black can connect, and White will get a Gote here. I think White is better off just to play the Sente exchange, and then do other endgame. For example, maybe turn here, or just come back to this side. Playing move in the center like this looks impressive, but usually doesn't give you any points. With that, I think I'll conclude this review as well. I think all three games has shared a similar theme of damage control, and recognizing when we have blundered to not continue to lose more points. So hopefully people can, all the viewers can heed that advice and remember that for the remaining of the season and in future games. Thank you very much for coming to the review this week.